Welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, the podcast for busy families who are tired of the chaos, fed up with being overwhelmed, and ready to enjoy life again. Each week, we talk about how to let go of the clutter so that you can focus on the things that actually matter. And it's not just physical clutter. We talk about the mental and emotional stuff too, because if it's holding you back, it's time to ditch it. I share what I've done in my own life to declutter, organize, and calm the chaos, but you won't just hear it from me. There are amazing guests too. It's practical, doable, and simple for those of us that want to be clutter-free. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 208 of the Wannabe Clutter Free Podcast. On today's episode, I am talking about a topic that many parents struggle with, and it is organizing their kids' artwork and school papers. And right now, it is the end of the school year. It is here. Summer is here. And this is a topic that is on a lot of our minds because I am sure that I am not the only family who had an abundance of papers come home this week from school. So let's talk today about what we can and should do about it so that we don't get overwhelmed or racked with guilt as we get rid of some of these things. So if you've ever found yourself overwhelmed by the piles of drawings, homework, and school projects, well, this episode is for you. But before we dive in, I always like to take a quick second to say thank you to you for being here today. I appreciate and value that you are here, and I will do my best to bring you information that will help lighten your load and make life more enjoyable along the way. So if you like what you hear, I encourage you to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And as always, I so appreciate when you share this show with others and leave a rating and a review wherever you choose to listen to this show so that others can find us as well. And with that housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and dive on in. First, I want to start with talking about why it's important to keep your kids' artwork and school papers organized. Because as a busy mom, you are juggling countless responsibilities. You have so much to do already. And that's why it's easy for these items to pile up and create clutter because it's difficult to deal with them sometimes right away, but it is the better way to go. Because keeping them organized isn't just about having a tidy home. It's about preserving those precious memories, ones that they've created with the art, but also those times that you create with your family. Because when your home isn't filled with clutter, you can create that space where you and your family can relax. You can spend time together. You can create those memories. And it's not all about the stuff because we get really overwhelmed when there's a lot. So we don't want to feel overwhelmed by all of that mess around us. And the longer you wait to deal with these papers when they come in, the harder it actually gets and it is to deal with them. That hill becomes a mountain. And I should know. I one time listened to someone else's advice where they told me just to pile it all up and then deal with it in one fell swoop. And that did not work for us. We just got so overwhelmed because that's what I did. I would just, when our daughter brought home schoolwork, I would just put it in a box at the top of her closet and then we dealt with it in the summertime. But guess who never wanted to deal with it? Either of us. It wasn't just her. It wasn't just me. Because there is too much fun to be had in the summer. And no one wants to go back and organize those school papers from the grade they just finished. Think about it. If your kid is going into second grade, they don't want to deal with the stuff from when they were a first grader. That's like so young. That is so yesterday, right? As we used to say. And so they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to come face to face with that stuff. They want to be big kids. They want to move on. They're ready to go forward. And so if you are like, nope, pull it back. Let's take out this giant box of all these papers and look through them. They don't want to do it. And you don't want to do it either. So let's not fight. Let's not have that struggle. Let's just tackle it as it comes in. And it makes it so much easier. All right. But I want to let you know that if you are there right now, like if this is where you are, it's okay. I just said I've been there too. And so today we're going to talk about how to get over that and create a system so that you won't be here next summer or your next school break. All right, so we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about how to create a system. But before we get there, let's take a quick break to hear from this week's sponsor. And then we're going to come back and set up that system to help you stay organized when it comes to the piles of creativity that your kids bring home each week. Do you ever find yourself staring into your closet, feeling like you've got tons of clothes but nothing to wear? Well, I've discovered a fabulous solution that's perfect for us busy women. Armoire. Armoire offers high-quality, unique brands tailored just for you. All it takes is a quick 5-minute style quiz, and voila, you get a personalized closet from which to choose. The best part, these stylish outfits are delivered straight to your door in just a couple of days. I just returned from a podcast conference, and Armoire saved the day when it came down to what to wear. I wore these super cute wide leg jeans from Paige to the day portion of the conference, and that night I wore cropped wide leg vegan leather pants and an asymmetrical striped sweater. I got compliments all night and had people mentioning my outfit the next day. Then I was able to simply send it back for something new. No clutter, no fuss, no special laundry. And it's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good too. Armoire is all about sustainable fashion, so you can stay trendy without the waste. Plus, it's women-founded and led, supporting women designers and aligning perfectly with our values of empowerment and community. Right now, my listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/wanna. That's armoire.style, ARMOIRE.style/wanna to get up to 50% off your first month. And never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about something that's helping me show up as my best self. Hormone harmony. For any woman navigating the ups and downs of hormonal change, whether you're in your 20s or past 40, this is something you'll want to hear about. I started taking hormone harmony because lately I've been feeling off balance, I was snacking more, feeling sluggish, and just not like myself. I was pretty flat. And that's when I found hormone harmony. It's been a game changer. It's not only for those of us that might be hitting perimenopause, but for any woman who feels like their hormones could be more in sync. Did you know a bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds? Yep, it's that popular. And it's not hard to see why. This wonderful supplement is packed with adaptogens. These are science-backed herbal extracts that help your body adapt to stress and minimize those annoying hormonal fluctuations. So whether it's hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, or just feeling perpetually tired, Hormone Harmony addresses all of these symptoms gently and effectively. And for those navigating the tricky waters of perimenopause, it is nothing short of a lifesaver. The company behind Hormone Harmony, Happy Mammoth, is all about making women's health simpler and safer. Their products are sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, non-GMO, and third-party tested to ensure the highest quality. And the best part? Women are reporting they feel like themselves again. If you're ready to start feeling like yourself again, I've got great news. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code WANNA at checkout. That's happymammoth.com with the code WANNA, WANNA, for 15% off your first order. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. Okay, welcome back. Let's talk about setting up a system because this is the first step in staying organized. So here are some tips to help you get started. 1, I want you to create a dedicated space. I want you to designate a specific area in your home for your kids' artwork and school papers. This does not have to be fancy. This does not have to be, a perfectly organized command center. It does not have to be anything like that. This could be a shelf. It could be a drawer. It could be a dedicated filing cabinet. It could just be a box on top of the shelf. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but this is a place where those papers will come in. Now, for us in our home, our daughter actually brings those papers home every Wednesday. So she comes in, we have a place for all of her school stuff to go. So right inside the door, she has her backpack, we take the lunch out, we put it in the kitchen, those kinds of things. And then the Wednesday folder comes out. So every Wednesday, we just go through it right away. And that's the goal, right? That's the 100% goal. Now, if something has come up, if we have a play date, if we need to go somewhere, if she's had a bad day, whatever, right? There could be numerous reasons it doesn't get taken care of right when we walk in the door. We will take care of it in the morning before she goes to school on Thursday because we have to take that folder back, right? So it's really just a quick little, okay, what do you think of these? Oh, okay, this was a math assignment you did. This was a writing assignment you did. These are just things that you're doing. They're not really art pieces or things that are necessary to keep. So those kinds of papers we now let go of. Now, I get that if your child is younger and they're doing more art and more creative things that you're getting home on a weekly basis, you're going to want to maybe display those and do something with them. We'll talk about that in a second. But just having a place for them to go, for you to deal with them. It's the same kind of thing we do when we talk about our mail, right? You want an inbox, just a place for everything to gather so they don't end up scattered all over your house. All right, so 2, I want you to use bins and folders or some way to keep these things in order. It can be simple, it can be complex. It really just depends on what you're going for. So for us, I keep it simple. I just have like a folder that we keep the things we want to keep in. And then at the end of the year, it actually goes in her. We each have a sentimental bin. I'll talk about that in a little bit too. But we each have a sentimental bin, and then all of her papers will go in there. And the folder is just labeled with whatever the grade is and the year. Makes it super easy, but it is a way for us to keep things organized. And organized just means in a central and known location. It just means that when I need something or when I want to find something, I know where to look for it. So we could get complicated and you can have a beautiful system set up if you'd like, but you don't have to. I just want you to know that you don't have to do that. All right. And then number 3 is to create a weekly routine. And I already talked about that with how we go through our daughter's papers. And thankfully, the school does that for us because they only come home on Wednesdays. But if your school is sending papers home every week, perhaps you're just putting them in the inbox, in wherever your dedicated space is, Monday through Friday, and then Saturday morning you sit down and go through the papers. That could be an easy way to take care of it. So just pick a time and day and set aside some time each week to go through those school papers. All right, so then let's talk about kids' artwork. And when we talk about this, I want us to know that there are 3 main things we need to discuss. And basically that is what we do with each piece that comes in. And it comes down to 3 categories. And I tried to make these kind of cute. It's display, stash, or trash. So it might sound harsh when we think about trashing our kids' stuff, but I want us to remember that not everything that your kiddo touches needs to be enshrined for all of eternity. It is okay to live in the moment sometimes and just enjoy things for a beat, just for a heartbeat. Be like, oh, that's great. And then let it go. That is totally fine. Although I know as a parent, it can be incredibly difficult to let go of the stuff that your kids make, right? You love your kids. You love what they make, especially their creative and unique creations. It kind of helps you like get a glimpse into their personalities. And it's so hard. Like you take all of that, you put it into their art, and it feels like you're throwing away a part of them when you do that, but you are not. It is just art. It is just a doodle. It is just a drawing. It is fine. Because there is a balance that we can strike, because if you're listening to this, I know you want to live in a clutter-free home with space to enjoy time with your family, but you also want to cherish and, keep special the things that are special. All right, so how do we cherish those special things that our kids create while still maintaining an organized home? And I believe it comes down to setting parameters or boundaries with what we keep. Does that sound familiar? If you've listened to the show at all, you will know that I think we only have so much space and we need to be cognizant of how we use that space. So it's pretty much how we can look at all of the things we bring into our house, because at some point there is only so much that will fit in this container that we call our home. All right, so let's look at deciding what to keep. This can be a tough decision, especially when it comes to your kids' artwork and school projects. And so here are some tips to help you make those choices. All right, number 1, I want you to keep the special pieces. I know that kind of goes against everything I talk about when I tell you like to declutter and let go of things, but things that are special deserve to be special, and that is okay. I'm not saying get rid of everything. Go ahead and save the artwork and the school papers that are particularly meaningful, but you need to be discerning, right? This is why we've already talked about the display, the stash, or the trash, right? Displaying, we're going to talk about that in point 2 for this. But stashing could be that you're going to keep something and it doesn't have to go on display, but you're going to keep it because it's special. And then trashing is getting rid of it. And I have a couple creative ways to do that as well, but we'll talk about that again in just a second. Right? So this first one kind of falls under that stash. We might keep the special pieces. It could be a first drawing. It could be a project that shows significant progress. It could be something that your child is especially proud of. It could be something that they've worked on. Personally, I also keep things that have a handprint or a footprint, because those are more special to me, right? It has a little bit of I can't always go back to when our kiddo had a small little foot and a small little hand. I can remember it, but it's nice to kind of see it visually. And she always gets a kick out of seeing how tiny she was before as well. So I will say, though, that I did toss any pieces with smudged prints because we had plenty that were really good, and I don't need to keep the messy ones, right? They didn't add any satisfaction or additional joy to the collection. So while I do keep some things with handprints and footprints, those that were not in good quality or really didn't stand out, I let those go because I had plenty already. Okay, so that's number one. That's keeping those special pieces. That falls under stash. Those could be in that sentimental bin somewhere just for you to keep them off on the side. Maybe you have a filing cabinet, however you want to keep those pieces, but that's in your stash pile. Number two is to create a display area. So choose one spot in your home or multiple spots in your home, but be really specific about where you're going to keep your kids' art on display because it can get overwhelming. I had a place in our last apartment where I had created kind of an art display wall, and it can get messy pretty quick. So you got to be really careful about what you choose to keep, where it's going to be, and how you actually put those things on display. You could use something like an art cabinet kind of frame, and those are those frames where they hold multiple items at once. I'll have a link to one of my favorite ones. It holds up to 50 pieces of artwork in one frame. So again, being able to keep a lot of it, if it's all special to you, that can be the sentimental bin. And then once you hit that 50, you've got to pick and choose which ones stay and which ones go. But that is a good way to be able to have those on display. Have a couple of those, and then you can change them out frequently. Number three is to digitize a lot of these things. So let's say you want to keep the memory, but you don't want to keep the actual physical thing. Well, you can take photos of them, you can scan the artwork and papers, and you can store them in a digital archive. And this is a way that you can preserve those memories without adding to the physical clutter. Now, I will caution you in doing this with everything. If you do choose to digitize something, please try to have really good naming conventions. Make sure you're putting the year, maybe the month in there as well, so that you remember when these things were created, because that can get really messy really fast as well. And we don't think about it. It becomes kind of the black hole. And if you are struggling with digital clutter, please check out episode 206 with Amanda Jefferson. That just aired a couple weeks ago. And we talked about this concept of the digital black hole, because when we don't see it, it can just be kind of just put it there and out of sight, out of mind. So make sure when you are digitizing things, you're using a really good naming convention. You're using the month and the year so that you can look back on those things in a chronological order or find them when you want to. And then if you don't just want them out into the black hole, you can also do something like number 4, which is create a picture book of these pieces. So you can use a service like Shutterfly or Chatbooks, and the latter makes it easier than ever to create photo books from your phone. So definitely check it out. Check out those services. If you are interested, I will leave links in the show notes. If you like having that physical connection to the pieces, but you've actually decluttered kind of the thing about kids' artwork is they crumple up and they take a lot more space than just if they were clean, new pieces of paper, right? So a digital art book might be a good way for you to take back some of the space, make it a little more organized, neat, and concise, and a way you can look back on those. So it's kind of fun if you do want to do one of those for the year so that your kids can look back on those over time, but definitely do not feel like a bad parent if you haven't done one of those. I haven't done one of those, so it is okay. You do not have to do one of those to win Mom of the Year. It is just fine, okay? But if you want to, those are 2 services that I've used that I like. So I will link to those in the show notes as well. And then speaking of taking a photo, if you have art projects or there are projects your kids have done that are bigger projects, maybe they're 3-dimensional, maybe they took a lot of creativity, maybe you don't want to just keep, obviously you're not going to keep that big thing, but you want to take a picture of it. I highly, highly, highly recommend taking a picture of your kiddo with the project. Try to do it as soon as you can from when they created it, because that way you know how old they were when they created it. They'll be super proud of it. They'll be able to show that pride on their face in the picture. And so that is really fun. I want to make sure that if you're taking the picture of the thing, that is like my number one. Also take pictures of your kiddo with the thing, because we have a lot of pictures of the art that she created, but not necessarily of her with them, and that makes a big difference. All right, and then the last point I want to make here for deciding what to keep or how to keep our kids' artwork is to use them for another purpose. So especially when our kids are little, they are constantly doodling and creating art. It's great for their creativity, but there's really no way you can or even want to display all of it, right? So for these not keepers, as I like to call them, you can give them another use. I love to turn them into wrapping paper. So simply pop them in a drawer or a bin and just kind of hang on to them. And then knowing that when the holidays roll around, you're going to take them out, you're going to tape them together, and you can create customized wrapping paper for gifts. Grandparents, aunties, uncles love this kind of stuff. And it saves you from, one, buying wrapping paper for a few years, because the drawings do eventually slow down. We don't really get them anymore in our house. So, now we're back to buying wrapping paper, but it can keep you in the wrapping paper business for a few years, which is really nice. 2, it reduces, reuses, and recycles things in a sustainable way in your house. And 3, it increases joy at the holidays because you'll get to see that art again, either under the tree or passed around as you're gifting it out. And so it is a win-win-win for everyone in the house. So that is another way you can use up this artwork, is to just use them for another purpose and repurpose them into wrapping paper. All right, let's take one more quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about getting the kids involved, because it doesn't all have to be on you, Mama.
I'm Margaret.
And I'm Amy.
And together we host the podcast, What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
Margaret, I would say you're sort of a where are my keys kind of mom.
Correct. Sometimes a where are my kids kind of mom. Well, you're, Amy, more of a we were supposed to leave 35 seconds ago, Mom.
I mean, touche. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, we come at a topic from our usually completely opposite perspectives. I bring the research.
And I bring kind of the gimlet eye. Like, is that research really going to work, people?
And almost 10 million downloads later, we're still laughing.
We also talk to experts in the parenting field, plus parents with stories we can all learn from.
We make each other laugh, we challenge each other's assumptions, and we have what we think is the best parenting community on the internet.
Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, welcome back. Let's get your kids involved, okay? So involving kids in the organization process can make a big difference, but it can be hard to get them on board. I know my daughter never really wanted to go through her artwork and papers, especially when that pile was giant, back to that talk about not having that giant mountain. But involving them teaches them valuable skills. It helps them take ownership in their belongings. It helps them make decisions and kind of work through these things on things that might, not be as difficult for them, but it is a really good way to have them kind of work those decluttering muscles early on in life where the stakes aren't that high. All right, so here are some ways to get them involved. 1, make it a fun activity. Every time I talk about decluttering with your kids, this is always the thing that I bring up, because nobody wants to do something when it is boring, especially children. And kids can make anything fun. So let's use that to our advantage. Let's look at how we can make it fun. Let's play some music. Let's set a timer. Let's work together to sort their papers and artwork. Make it a bonding experience rather than a chore. If there are another way to repurpose art, turn them into paper airplanes. Have a paper airplane throwing contest. And then when that is done, you can recycle the papers. So there are ways we can make things fun, crumple them up into a ball and play basketball, see who can make them into the recycle bin, that kind of a thing. We can make it fun. It doesn't have to be drudgery. All right, number 2 is teach decision making. I want you to encourage your kids to help decide what to keep and what to let go of. Now, this teaches them how to make those decisions and prioritize what's important. Always take their lead when they say they want to let something go. Please do not second guess them. Please let them build up these decision-making muscles and let them make those decisions and stick with them. All right, number 3 is to reward their efforts. Recognize and reward your kids for the effort and the energy that they bring in. So whether it's a special treat or extra playtime or a little extra screen time, positive reinforcement will motivate them to keep their spaces organized, help them stay on track, and help you get through the papers that you have. And then number 4, do it in small amounts. Now, I talked about this before because we go through those papers that our daughter brings home each week. So it is much easier to look at 10 papers and make a decision quickly versus 100 papers, right? We all know that. But then it's not just those weekly papers. Obviously, over the years, even those small weekly papers have piled up. So we do need to go through it one more time at the end of the year when we know all of the stuff we have from that grade. Because again, they bring more stuff home that you didn't even know about on the last week or over conference week or at the end of the trimesters or the semesters. The stuff that they had on display at back to school night, it's coming home. And so you're going to have more than you maybe anticipated. And so it's good to have one more purge when you know all the stuff you have from the latest grade that they just wrapped up. But that maintenance that you did throughout the year makes it easier for that final review. It makes that final review easier, more fun because there are fewer decisions to be made. There's less grunt work. It's quicker and everybody is happier when that happens. All right, so speaking of maintenance, let's talk about maintaining the system. And this is the last part of today that I want us to talk about. So once you set it up, it's really important to keep it going, right? We've already talked about how we have what we do with the paper when it comes in, but I do want to make sure that we are, one, having regular check-ins. I want you to schedule a regular time to review and look at the system and make sure it's still working for you. Could be once a month, could be at the end of each school term. For me, I gauge things kind of every quarter. So like every 3 months or so, if we're looking on the US school schedule, that's kind of right around spring break. Well, I guess New Year's, spring break, end of the school year. So right now at the beginning of summer, kind of like a month after school starts, because you're going to have a little bit of time and that gives you, you can kind of see the cadence of the papers that are going to come in and things like that. And then I already talked about the end of the year, kind of first of the year. So that's 4 times. So again, I'll repeat those. End of year, first of the year, that's number 1. So right around the holiday break and the new year, that's a good time to kind of have one look at your system. Number 2 is right around spring break. That's going to give you another chance to kind of say like, how have things been working for this first quarter? Then summertime, right now, right when school gets out, you'll have all that paper come in. You can kind of figure out how things are going. A month after school starts gives you a good way to look at the cadence for when things come in, and then those are your 4. Okay, hope that makes sense. All right, number 2 is to give things a place to live. We already talked about this, where you have those papers that come in, they have a designated place to go. But then I also want to talk again about the sentimental bin that each of us have. So in our home, we each have one bin to keep all of our personal keepsakes. These are going to be things like artwork projects, trinkets that mean a lot to us sentimentally. I think I have a yearbook in mine, but that's what belongs in your sentimental bin. It's something that you don't really want to put on display, but you don't really want to let go of it. But giving each of us a bin where we have no questions asked, we get to keep whatever we want in there. It's just a nice way to have one place for things to go. Now, please note that some of your kids' artwork might end up in your bin, and here's why. If they don't want to keep it, but you love it, and they're ready to let go of it, please do not second guess them. At that point, it comes into your bin. It becomes your piece of artwork. So if you love something that they've made and they're like, I don't want it, you go, okay, great, can I keep it? And then you keep it in your bin. It becomes your piece of memorabilia and things like that. I know a lot of parents will keep these bins and they will pass them off to their kids when they move, right? Or they leave home, they start their own family. And so you get a lot of this paperwork back. And it's so interesting to me because as an adult, a lot of those papers no longer mean anything to you. Like you might look back and see a couple of your school pieces. You're like, oh, that's cute. And that's kind of what has ended up in my personal bin. But it'll be really interesting to see as our daughter becomes an adult, right, which pieces she chooses to keep later on in life. But again, alas, we are here. And that's what's so great about it is your changes in what you keep in your personal bin will evolve over time. All right, so regularly go through this bin as well. And the end of the school year is a good time to do that. But if it's a little busy, you can do it any time of year. It's not a problem. But just remove and add things as needed. So as stuff comes in, if your bin is full, like our daughter's bin is not anywhere close to full, but my husband and I's bins are pretty full. So if we can't add anything else to the bin, then we need to purge something out of there, right? We have to make those hard choices about what gets to stay and what gets to go. But having that container is really helpful so that it doesn't get out of control. All right, number 3 is to stay flexible. I want you to be open to adjusting your system as needed. It is okay if things change. And in fact, that's just a sign of growth. So it is fine. The volume of their school papers will change. And it actually gets less and less, I think, that they will end up keeping, right? Their projects become more complex. They take a longer time to do. And that means there is a little bit less that's coming home. As they change into more 3-dimensional outside of the artwork and the paintings and things like that, then it becomes more of taking a picture of your children with that thing, and then the thing goes. So it's okay. Be flexible. Be open to change as necessary. Just know that that's just a part of life, just like everything else. All right, and then number 4 is to celebrate your successes. I want us to end here on a high note. I want us to celebrate our success of staying organized. And this might not even be a physical celebration. It might just be more mentally that you are going to start to feel the relief and like not have the guilt of having all these things around your home and one more thing on your to-do list to take care of. Because as we're doing it on a regular basis, it just becomes part of how we operate. It just becomes part of the ebb and flow of running your home. And it feels so amazing when you don't have to tackle a giant mountain of paperwork at the end of every school year, which will likely just get put off to another one. And then you'll have 2 mountains to let go of. So let's go ahead and start tackling them a little by little right now. And you will get to the end. And I want you to celebrate that success, especially if you are starting with that mountain. So make sure you put something on your goal board that you are working toward. And that could be, a massage for yourself. It could be a spa day with you and your kid. Like go get a manicure, pedicure if your kiddos are into that. Or just, go have a play date, go get ice cream, go get ice cream sundae with the family, go out ice skating or roller skating or bowling or something. Go do something that is fun, that is a win for everybody, because everybody's going to deserve a reward and just having fun. So make sure we are bringing it back to fun, especially when our kids are involved. And you deserve fun too, but it's just a great way to get the kids on board because they are definitely not going to do it when it is drudgery. And so that wraps it up for today's episode. It is your turn now. I want to turn to you. What do you do with your kids' artwork and paperwork? Did you get some tips from today? I'd love to know which ones you are going to implement. So come on over and you can send me a DM on Instagram, or you can comment on this post for the episode. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free on the social channels. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Or if you have more questions and you want to get more feedback, well, come on over to the Wannabe Minimalist Family Group on Facebook and share with that community. There will be a discussion thread for this episode, and we would love to chat with you in the comments. And as always, I want to thank you for joining me today. I am so grateful you are here, so thank you for being here. And if you like what you hear, I hope you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. And please leave a rating or a review for this show so others can find us as well. And with that, I hope you have an amazing day. I will see you back here next week when I am chatting with Kelly Foss about minimalism. We will break down some misconceptions, and she talks with us about her minimalism journey and what that has been like. It is a great episode, and you won't want to miss it. Until next time, keep decluttering, keep moving forward, and know that I've got your back. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.